Welcome to Our Plant Stories, the Offshoot episode, because every story I follow seems to lead me to someone else I'd love to talk to. This season, in the Offshoot slot, we have what we could call a mini-series. When I worked for Radio 4, I did love to make programmes where you followed people on a journey. Perhaps they were setting up a business and I'd follow them across a year. So when the opportunity arose to do this with a garden, well, you won't be surprised to hear I was up for it. Between now and May, we will follow the journey of the Plant Heritage Missing Collector Garden on its way to the RHS, Royal Horticultural Society, Chelsea Flower Show. And with all journeys, it's good to talk to others, right, who've been there before.
Just been asking people for hints and tips, and their number one tip was be scared. So I think we can do that. They said never think you're ahead because always something might go wrong. So that's always nice to know.
That's Gwen Hines, the CEO of the charity Plant Heritage. The Missing Collector Garden is supported by Project Giving Back, the vision of two private individuals who wanted to enable charities to raise awareness and support for their work by building gardens at this prestigious show. Between 2022 and 2026, Project Giving Back has funded 63 charity gardens. The show attracts 168,000 visitors over its 5 days and a global audience of millions via the TV and media coverage. And we'll be following the three designers who together form the Planting Design Collective. They've won the opportunity to create this show garden for Plant Heritage.
You know, we've had like the long list, and then we've had to get to the short list, and then we get the funding, and then we have to go to the RHS, and then we present again to the RHS. And at every step we could have got knocked back, and we would always get to that just before that next step. And all three of us would take, actually, even if we don't get past the next stage, we've learned so much, and that's continued. And even today, filming and podcasting and new skills that we're learning and meeting new people, and it's been so lucky to be able to do it. So it's been so fun.
The Missing Collector Garden is going to showcase the work of Plant Heritage, home of the National Collections. There are over 730 national collections, safeguarding nearly 100,000 plants, from oaks to orchids, or plants that have a shared history or perhaps geography. And the collections are held in a variety of places, from balconies to small and large gardens, allotments, parks, zoos, even a pub and a prison. I think of these collections as a library, protecting plants that are rare, perhaps they've fallen out of fashion, because otherwise, once a plant is lost, it may be gone forever. Think back to our first story of this season with Sam's search for Clematis Miriam Markham. So this is about biodiversity and conservation. I've been a trustee of Plant Heritage since December 2024, and making this series is also going to give me the chance to meet people at the heart of this work. But back to this year's Chelsea Garden, and the idea for it started back in 2024. This is a big moment for Plant Heritage. And beyond the designers, there is a whole team of people from the charity, plant collection holders, nurseries, construction and planting teams. Let's start with some introductions.
I'm Gwen Hines. I'm CEO of Plant Heritage. I think I've always liked flowers, and I definitely remember colours and flowers from my childhood and through the years. I spent many years living overseas. I was a humanitarian aid worker, so I moved around a lot. But even when I was overseas, I played with plants. When I lived in Malawi, we had an amazing garden, and I remember going out there and chopping things, cutting things. We had a mulberry bush, which was amazing, but we also had really tropical plants. So the most amazing cannas, for example. We had a mango tree, we had a banana tree. So very tropical plants, not so easy in the UK. So when I moved back to the UK 10 years ago, and I had my first garden, and we were staying still for the first time. So that's when I really got into gardening, because I had this space that was just grass, literally just grass, and the terrace, and not very big, but I started planting things. And from there, over time, I've dug up more and more of the grass, put in more and more flowers, more plants, more trees, shrubs. And it really is my happy space. It's where I go to relax. It's where I go when I'm stressed. And just the colours, the variety in there really appeals to me and is very much in line with Plant Heritage's mission of that variety of plants is what makes it really special.
Appropriately, I met up with the designers in a garden. And what I love about this industry is that people come to it from so many different directions. So we're in Wisley. I wanted to ask you, how do you look at gardens through a designer's eyes? Because walking around with you today, I've just sensed it's slightly different to how some of the others of us walk through gardens.
Are you calling us judgy? My name is Sally Ann Rees. I am a planting designer and also part of the Planting Design Collective.
I sense that you would describe yourself as a plant geek. Would that be fair?
I think that's fair, yeah. Having hung out with you this afternoon at Wisley, yeah, you've probably got a sense of that. Yeah, very much so. I think that since I really got into the world of horticulture and gardening, it's just been something that has just slowly sort of built and built and built. And I think one of the brilliant things about being in this industry is that there's always more to learn. There's always another plant to discover and plant books to buy and gardens to visit. And it's just, yeah, it's a real joy to be surrounded by so many beautiful plants.
Did plants feature in your childhood? Did you grow up with the garden? Did you have anyone close to you who did garden?
Yeah. You know, you read about all the time about all these amazing garden designers who, you know, propagating plants with their grandfather in the greenhouse from the age of 4. No, I didn't have that, but I grew up in the countryside in Cheshire, so I was surrounded by nature. We had a garden at home. My father did have a vegetable patch, and I would play in the fields and the streams behind the back of our house. So it was something that I was always immersed in nature, and I think it's something I took for granted, really. So it's always been something that I associate with home, with safety, and the idea of nature being a real comfort. So,
what did you do in a former life?
I've had loads of different jobs. I was a lawyer in the city, and then I was a legal recruiter for years, and then we moved overseas with my husband's job. So then I was a trailing spouse. It's a lovely term, isn't it? So I learnt Russian because we lived in Moscow. Came back, renovated a house, and then started work as a gardener. And now that's it. I've got my job now. I'm not changing again. I actually really love this one.
Over time, you develop a way of almost reading a garden, and you can tell why someone's made a decision to plant a specific tree in that spot. You know, does it draw your eye down along a view, that kind of thing. But then you'd also see us probably looking into the distance, but then getting right up close to the plants and being proper geeks and reading the signs. And I noticed you were going through a border at one point. Did I? Walking into it.
My name is Kate Campbell, and I am a member of the Planting Design Collective with Will and Sally.
How did you get to be here?
So in terms of becoming part of the Planting Design Collective, Sally and I met while we were studying our RHS 2 horticulture diploma at Hever Castle, and then we both moved on to do the planting design diploma at London College of Garden Design, where we met Will. And then coming out of college, the three of us felt like we wanted to keep in touch. We hadn't at that point decided we wanted to form a collective per se, but we really recognised the fact that we were leaving college and we were kind of out on our own. So we wanted to stay in touch just to help each other, support each other, see how we were all getting on building our individual businesses. And then over 2 years, the last couple of years, it's kind of organically formed the Planting Design Collective. It was never like a decision at the beginning.
What was the inspiration for you to become a designer? Did you see a garden? Had you always loved gardens? Had you always loved plants? What was it?
I'd always loved gardens and gardening, mostly because my dad is very into gardening, and I was lucky enough to grow up in a garden that was really mature. Like, it wasn't a massive garden, but the house that we moved into had this mature garden that he actually ended up teaching himself how to garden to look after it. So I've got lots of fond memories of growing up in that space. But it was never, horticulture design was never anything offered at school. I think if it had been, I probably would have gone for it. But I ended up being working in finance, trained as an accountant, so very different, and worked for about 15 years in finance. And then I was working for an investment bank which sponsored a garden at Chelsea. And it was a garden by Chris Beardshaw. It was designed for Great Ormond Street. So they asked for volunteers to go and help out during show week. And he came into the office and talked us through the garden and the planting design in particular. And that came at a point when I was thinking about changing career anyway. Like I'd got to the point where I looked at my boss's job and decided I didn't want it. And it was also a very stressful job as well. So I decided to make a change. And just hearing him talk through the design and the planting and the impact that gardens can have on people was really inspirational.
So that's two members of the Planting Design Collective, Sally and Kate. Luckily, there are three. So as they told me, if they need to vote on something, they're never at stalemate. Though they reassured me that they hadn't really needed it.
Apart from the plant I wanted and you said no.
Okay. Sally did choose a really ugly, dead-looking plant that we did have to say, maybe not that one.
Do you want to reveal what it was?
I better not, because it's still tagged in a nursery. So.
Oh, it's going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to work its way in.
I must go back to the nurseryman and say thank you. But
Thanks. So I'm William Murray. I'm one of the designers with the Planting Design Collective.
Tell me what you're most excited about for this project.
It's a really amazing opportunity to really have a deep dive into different plants. We can really, gives us a lot of freedom to be plant geeks, essentially. So we're exploring all different things we didn't know about, meeting new people that teaching us so much, all the different national plant collection holders teaching us so much about plants that they're really passionate about, which obviously is quite infectious.
Were you always a plant geek? Can you look back to childhood, and was there a fascination with plants, or did you grow up with plants around you?
Yeah, I actually was. I think might have been my 8th birthday, my parents got me an allotment, so subscription for allotment. So I was down there with my granddad, growing various things. I think we entered the biggest runner bean competition and things like that. So I was always quite interested in plants. My granddad always had a lovely garden that we'd spent a lot of time in, so that was probably quite formative.
And then what happened? Did you go away from it?
I did go away from it. I had a sort of creative career before getting into garden design. So it was kind of weird. One day I woke up and had a sudden realisation I needed to go and buy some cacti for whatever reason. So I did that, and then I went and bought more houseplants, and then I went and bought more houseplants. We were living in a flat with no garden at the time. And then I had in my mind, I'd really like to, have my own garden for a start, but I'd really like to design gardens. So I already worked in design, but not for gardens. So one thing sort of led to another.
So you've had an experience of doing a garden at Chelsea. How does that help with this process, do you think?
Yeah, it was. I did a balcony garden, so a smaller project, and I was working solo. So understanding that process is really helpful. We're obviously working as the Planting Design Collective now, so there's 3 of us, which is brilliant because this is such a bigger project. There's so many more moving parts, but having that experience at Chelsea before in a sort of the first taste of it in a manageable garden, I might not have thought this at the time, but quite a manageable space, was really incredible. And it's such a special place to be at Chelsea. It's obviously got such history, but it does, as a designer, it lets you be really creative in ways that you don't always get to do day-to-day work.
What was the biggest lesson from doing that garden at Chelsea the first time?
Attention to detail. So towards the end of the week when you're building the garden, you're really tired, and you might see something that isn't quite right. And the lesson I learned was I should have changed that thing. So some of that is really important, but working with a bigger team is the benefit is that there's lots of us there. So when one of us is maybe low energy, there's another to pick up that, and really making sure we're really sticking to our garden brief, and that initial vision of the garden stays true to what it was to start off with.
So now you know the Planting Design Collective, and I think over the next 4 months you will get to know them much better. So where did their inspiration for the show garden come from?
It came initially from reading an article about the Missing Collections campaign that Plant Heritage run every year. And I read it and I hadn't come across this idea of missing collections before, and I found it really interesting that some of our really well-known and loved garden plants like Verbascum and Aquilegia are currently not within a collection. And I love this idea, this sort of call out to new collectors to come forward to protect these plants. And then we had been talking about doing another show garden as we'd worked together at Hampton Court. And I think Will had found the Project Giving Back press release about it being the last year of funding.
And they were looking for all about plants gardens which were connected to plants. So lots of the charities at Chelsea obviously don't always have a plant or garden connection. So we sort of thought Plant Heritage are a really perfect fit for an all about plants garden. Plant Heritage have had presence at Chelsea for quite a long time in the marquee, but never a show garden.
And then I guess the next step was Sally sitting in her hairdresser phoning up the CEO of Plant Heritage.
Thanks, Kate.
With her foils in.
It was one of those mad sort of afternoons. We'd talked about the garden. I think we were all really busy at the time, and we knew that the deadline was coming up. And I think we'd sort of think, oh, is it going to happen? Is it not? And we had like 2 or 3 days left, and we hadn't got to that point of contacting the charity. And I was literally Friday afternoon in the hairdressers with my foils in, and I had 45 minutes for the colour to cook. And I thought, I don't know, I'll Google the number, and I thought I'm going to get possibly like a PA who might pass a message on, or more likely the answering machine. And it was hello, and I said, oh hi, I need to speak to somebody about maybe a show garden. And I was thinking, why have I done this? I haven't even got a coherent sentence. And this person went, well, hello, I'm Gwen, and I'm the new CEO, and it's something we've been thinking about. And it was great. It was a really fortuitous call.
My immediate reaction was yes, definitely. I think I'd been thinking already about would we do a garden for Chelsea, and had been thinking, okay, maybe in a future year. And so getting the call from Sally and her excitement and the ideas about doing a garden together really hit at the right moment for me of thinking, yeah, why not? Why wait? Why not do it now?
What's important, do you think, for the charity about doing a garden at a place like Chelsea?
So we were at Chelsea in 2025, and it was my first Chelsea working on the stand, and we saw the amazing reaction from the public as they found out more about the national collections. But we need to cut through to so many more people. The work that national collection holders do is amazing. They are volunteers, they are passionate about plants, they work so hard on their collections. And together they're now looking after 100,000 plants for all of us. We all benefit. And I want that work to be seen on a world stage by people all across the UK, on TV, but also around the world. And as well, of course, the people who come and see the garden at Chelsea itself.
What's special about those collection holders?
Well, it starts with a passion for plants, and I've met many of them already, and I love meeting them because I like asking them why did they start their collection. And often it's because they loved a plant and they wanted to find more about it, and then they suddenly found themselves collecting more and more of those plants and researching them, telling other people about them, sharing the plants with other people. And it's the idea that they come together as this living library to safeguard 100,000 plants for the future. And that really is everything. We talk about it from tiny orchids to enormous oak trees, and it really is just that huge variety of plants being kept safe in this living library.
Do we sometimes take plants for granted? Do we not realise as gardeners that there is a threat to them?
I think we definitely do. I did before I joined Plant Heritage. For example, one of our missing collections plants for this year, for 2026, is wallflowers. Wallflowers are a really common flower. You know, people talk about that favourite flower. So when I was a child, I'm one of 5 children, we were each given a small patch of the garden and chose plants. I chose wallflowers. So actually, the fact that there is no national plant collection at the moment of wallflowers is really sad. And so we're looking for people to come forward and start a national collection of wallflowers. And people think it has to be just a rare or unusual plant. And the point of the national collection is to have a variety of different wallflowers within that collection, because it's the diversity of the flowers, but also the diversity of the genes within the collection that really matters. So that's an example of something that we totally take for granted. But if tomorrow they went out of fashion, nobody was growing them, nobody was buying them, they disappear. And when they're gone forever. You can't get them back because they are each unique in terms of their genetics. So we need to keep them growing, we need to keep caring for them, sharing them with other people, otherwise they can disappear.
Because you have these amazing long conversations with these really passionate collection holders who know so much about these plants. The difficulty has been to try and not put all the plants they suggest in the garden. That's been one of the bigger challenges.
6 metres by 8 metres, so we have a limit of the physical number of plants we could put in. We'd love to put thousands more. It is really that curating them down to the ones that sort of tell the story the best, I suppose.
I think we've all learned, like, from speaking to them as designers, there'll be so many influences from that in future projects, where there'll be things that we haven't been able to put in this garden, but we've learned so much. Like, they're a real untapped resource of knowledge for varieties and cultivars that we didn't know about.
And it's really nice to be able to thank them publicly and acknowledge the work that they do, because they're looking after all of a large proportion of our garden plants, that if somebody's not looking after them, then they can be lost forever.
I must admit, I've interviewed quite a few of them for our plant stories, and I just love their passion as well as their expertise. You know, it's just brilliant, isn't it? Just thinking towards Chelsea, is there anything that keeps you awake at night?
So many things. Lots of stuff's out of our control.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the weather's going to be the week we're planting our garden. That can have quite a big effect on lots of the woodland plants that we're putting in. But the sort of flip side of that is that we're trying to be very organised for all the things we can control. So although we'll have probably suddenly wake up thinking, oh my goodness, is that plant going to be okay tomorrow? We can't control that, so...
Yeah. And Chelsea's such a strange beast, where it's a small space with lots of people creating gardens, and just the logistics of getting stuff in there could be tricky. And there will be things that go wrong, but we just need to adapt to it.
At the end of January, Sally, Kate, Will, Gwen and me went on an outing in London to the Royal Hospital Chelsea, home to the Chelsea pensioners. Many of us will have seen the grounds on television.
We are here for our site visit at Chelsea Showground, so there's nothing here at the moment. I think we're going to see just bare grass, but we're going to go to where the garden's actually going to be built.
Yes, looking at things like the tree canopy and being pointed out where the services are that we can't dig down and
storage.
hit
We
a
need to
sewer.
think about where we're going to store stuff.
We've just been asking people for hints and tips, and their number one tip was be scared. So I think we can do that. They said never think you're ahead, because always something might go wrong. So that's always nice to know.
Wow, I've just been chatting away to Gwen and not really looking up, and then, gosh, it's
really not very big, which is so scary when you think about how much has to fit in it.
It's so true. It's just
so
so
different.
different and flat. Wow.
And look, that's what's in the middle of the monument's in the middle of the marquee.
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
How does everything fit in this
It's
space?
so quiet as well, isn't it? It's
We are at Chelsea for our first site visit. How exciting! This is very strange and quite scary.
Between now and May, we will follow the progress of the Missing Collector Garden, and along the way we will meet national collection holders, find out about a very special feature in the garden, and visit where it will be going after the show. And if you want to see the design, then you can see it on the websites of Plant Heritage and the Planting Design Collective, and I'll put all the links on ourplantstories.com. This podcast is recorded, edited, produced and presented by me, Sally Flatman. Thank you for listening. If you want to show your support for this podcast via Buy Me a Coffee, then the link is in the show notes or on the website ourplantstories.com. I promise you, your virtual coffee will go towards the podcast, not plants.